The cloud native ecosystem is alive and well. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Abby Kearns, Executive Director at Cloud Foundry Foundation. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you for having me, Tonya. I'm so excited to be here.
And we are honored to have you. Describe Cloud Foundry Foundation and why the organization exists.
Cloud Foundry Foundation is the home of the open source Cloud Foundry. And Cloud Foundry, I liken it to the operating system of the data center. It's this little known platform as a service that actually underpins a lot of the Fortune 500's ability to write, deliver, and scale their applications.
Give us an overview, if you will, of the Cloud Foundry's platform and how it's being utilized today's leading organizations.
Cloud Foundry is in my unbiased opinion, the leading platform as a service. It's a platform as a service, even though it's been around for a long time, the value that it provides, particularly for an opinionated platform as a service as Cloud Foundry, is the opportunity to integrate a variety of cloud native technologies that enable you as a developer to write and easily deploy your applications into production on any cloud. And if you think about that, in enterprises, there are a lot of steps, a lot of gates, a lot of people, and enterprises want to be able to move fast. They want to be able to compete with startups, but they also need to take some things into consideration, like who has access to production, how do we scale, I need to worry about security. Is the platform going to be stable enough for me to run not just 1, 2, or 10 applications, but what about when I hit 10,000 applications or 50,000 applications? Will I still be able to do that quickly and easily? And so those are the types of considerations that we see the Fortune 500 taking into account when they choose Cloud Foundry. And that's been really an exciting part for me, to be able to be on the front lines watching enterprises use Cloud Foundry to fundamentally change the way they do their business.
Who are some of the Cloud Foundry Foundation's member organizations?
We have 66 members today, and they span everything from the largest technology companies, so think Dell, VMware, SAP, IBM, Pivotal, all the way to some of the largest SIs, so the system integrators like HCL, to the largest cloud providers, so Google, Microsoft, Alibaba. But we also have a variety of smaller organizations that are the backbone of what we do. Companies like Resilient Scale or Stark and Wayne, or a variety of services like InfluxDB or Minio. So it's this really great interconnected ecosystem of providers, users. We have a great deal of users that are also our members, like Comcast, Ford, American Airlines, Home Depot. And they all pull together this fantastic ecosystem that is leveraging cloud native technologies to power the future of what the enterprise is going to look like.
More large enterprises are adopting open source technologies today than ever before. Why is this happening? And what do you think open source will do to continue to grow?
Well, open source, you hit the nail on the head, is just at the forefront of everything we're talking about these days, right? It is powering a lot of companies that are IPO. And if you look at the companies that IPO'd last year, or some of the largest acquisitions in tech, so last year we saw Pivotal IPO. We ended the year with Red Hat getting acquired by IBM for $34 billion. Open source is at the core of all of that activity that's happening, but you also look at organizations that you don't necessarily think of as tech forward companies, or companies that are really invested in open source. And I hear them one after another tell me, actually, we're an open first company now. Open source is at the heart of what we do. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that open source is really hitting its stride, particularly with enterprises, at the same time that companies are digitizing, that are leveraging technologies in new ways. And I think the two work together so well, because what does open source ask of you? It asks you to work with other companies, sometimes competitors, to collaborate, to share ideas, and to really innovate at a a larger scale than just yourself or your organization. And the same with digital transformation that ask you to work with other teams and partner and collaborate in new ways. So I don't think it is an accident that these two things are happening at the same time.
You mentioned a recent acquisition, like Red Hat, for example. There have been many others. Do you expect to see more of these types of consolidation this year?
Oh, absolutely. 2019 is going to be full of them. We ended the year with Red Hat getting acquired, and shortly after that, Heptio got acquired by VMware. I think we'll see so many more companies getting acquired or consolidation this year, particularly in the cloud native space. And then you got a lot of new emerging technologies that are going to change and shake things up. So I actually think that 2019 is going to be a really exciting year in the cloud and cloud native ecosystem.
What trends are you starting to see with top cloud providers like AWS and Azure?
Well, they're obviously investing heavily in the enterprise space now, and in ways that they didn't particularly always. Microsoft has always been a big enterprise player, and that's why I think Azure's done so well. If you look at the Azure growth year over year, it's been phenomenal, and I think the large part has to do with their capabilities and their experience with the enterprise, because enterprises are moving more and more workloads to public clouds. And then you see AWS really starting to take that and invest in that as well. And they're going after that space. And then, GCP, Google Cloud Platform is really looking like they're going to start investing in that as well with their new leadership change with Thomas Kurian coming over from Oracle to run that business unit. So I think enterprise is at the heart of what all of the public cloud providers are really trying to, one, capture that market space, but two, figure out the solutions and the technologies that are really going to attract and retain those users.
How is cloud computing landscape evolving, and what emerging trends do you see for 2019?
The cloud native landscape is evolving much faster than any kind of tech that I remember. Like, I've been in technology 20 years, and all of it enterprise. So for me, trends, 10, 15 years ago, when you saw enterprises see a new trend come up, well, they would think, okay, well, I've got 5 years to catch up, right? We'll think about it for a couple of years. We'll work on it, then we'll implement it. 5 years, plenty of time. Well, now 5 years, just think 5 years ago where we were, and we weren't even really, we were starting to talk about public cloud in the enterprise, but it was like, yeah, it's unsecure. It's not for us. And now we're really seeing organizations not just using one public cloud, they're using many public clouds. In fact, multi-cloud is the de facto standard for most organizations these days. And so if you look at multi-cloud, one of the things that I firmly believe that we'll hear a lot more of this year as well is multi-platform. So the idea that you're going to need a variety of platforms and technologies to address a broad spectrum of application workloads. You're not just going to have one type of application. You're not going to have just one type of platform. And so I think hopefully in 2019, we're all going to realize that there's no silver bullet technology, that you need a variety of them, and they all need to figure out how to work together. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, is how do we, within Cloud Foundry, how do we continuously evolve, but also looking at the broader cloud and cloud native ecosystem, how does it continuously evolve, standardizing where it makes sense, but also really adopting the emergent technologies and fundamentally making it easier for people to use.
Absolutely. Abby Kearns, continuing to pioneer in technology, Executive Director at Cloud Foundry Foundation. If somebody wants to connect with you, maybe they want to find out more about the work that you're doing, how can they do that?
Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm easy to find at AB415.
Sounds good. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.